In this video, I'm going to be cleaning up a little mess I made yesterday. I dropped this tree. It was half dead and I wanted to get it out of here. And it was about over 20 inches in diameter. I've got a steel MS-290 with a 20-inch bar, and it didn't make it all the way through. I had to do a little cutting from each side, but it came down fine, no problem. And what I'm going to be doing now is moving the log. I've cut that into lengths, and the Buford bucket is going to be something that, to move this, is going to be very simple. The good news is I have a John Deere X595 with the Buford bucket. The 595 has front wheel assist. People look at this and they say you have four-wheel drive, and that's not correct. Four-wheel drive means all four wheels are basically the same size and they drive. You got front and rear tires, and they're usually the same size. This tractor is called a front wheel assist because it's just there to help you. It's not actually considered four-wheel drive. The 595 is a 24-horse Yanmar 3-cylinder diesel, and you'll never run out of power with that engine. Okay, I do have the Carlisle True Power bar lugs all around. The front wheel drive is going to help you tremendously. I used to have 455s and ran loaders on those for many years until I bought a X595. As soon as I bought that, I sold all my 455s, which I had 4 of them, and I bought another X595, so I now have 2 X595s. If I have a problem with one, I just take the loader and move it to the other one. I do a lot of work for people in the neighborhood and the subdivision, and having the second one, made a lot of sense, because that way I don't ever have to worry about not being able to do a project. Okay, when you have a loader, you're going to need a lot of counterweight, and I build my own rear weight brackets. And originally I started out, I had a 317, which I built my first Buford bucket on that tractor, and I had 5 weights and quickly learned that's not enough. I went to 7, and then when I start running it on the 455s, I went to 9 weights. 9 is a good number in my opinion. And when I make the hitch, I have an extension underneath there so that I can have a lower and a higher rear hitch. The lower one, I've got a chain and a clevis that I can pull things with, and if I want to, I can take the pin out of the hole there and put a ball in there. If I've got a trailer or something I need to move that has a ball type hitch, I can do that. And when I made this one, I also added the category 0 pins in the back. That's for a category 0 hitch. I used to have another 455 that had a 3-point hitch. If I ever had a tractor that I got stuck or it broke down on me a half-mile from home, I could just take the other tractor, lift up the back of this tractor, and haul it away, bring it back to my shop. And that decal, it says 4x4. It is not a true 4x4. My John Deere, or my brother has John Deeres, which are over 200 horsepower tractors, and it has front wheel assist. And I one time said that's a 4x4 tractor, and he says, no, that's a front wheel assist. And he actually had 4-wheel drive tractors, which, they're completely different. Okay, as far as the Buford bucket, there's a chain hook in the middle here, and I'm going to be moving some brush and some pieces of logs later, and this is something that is extremely handy. I don't have to try to pick it up with the loader. I can just take a chain, wrap it around, and drag the piece out of the woods or wherever I need to get it from. I actually had a 2210 with a Buford bucket. It was custom built for me by Pete, and after I got the 595s, I sold the 2210. The 2210 would lift a lot more. It's a bigger tractor. The problem is I do a lot of work for neighbors, and I might be going into somebody's backyard, and it was just too big and heavy. It would tear the daylights out of the grass. So eventually I decided, since I got the two 595s, I sold my 2210. It was a good tractor. I used it for doing more heavy-duty grading, but it's just something that, you know, once I've got this 595, you know, this is the best combination I've ever seen. The X598, 758 are the newer versions of this tractor. Basically the same tractor, same engine. It's just that, you know, some of the electronic stuff on there is a little different, but, you know, either, you know, one of those tractors would be, you know, great for a loader. Okay, and this has a tooth bar, and I would never get this loader without a tooth bar. The tooth bar, I call it a paddle tooth because they're flat, and it does work like a tooth bar, except that I can actually, if I dump a load of mulch on somebody's yard, I can use this and I can pick it up and not tear the crap out of the grass. I just on Wednesday had a job for a neighbor. He had a load of river rock dumped on his driveway on a tarp, and he started moving it with a shovel and wheelbarrow, and he quickly decided he's going to see if I'd help him. So I went down there and I was able to pick up the rock off of the tarp, and I had a few places where I actually tore the tarp a little bit, but I was amazed that I was able to do that. I've done this a lot of times where I've wanted to skin sod off of a area in someone's yard, and as long as the, you know, sod is, you know, wet, you don't want to do this in August down here in Atlanta, but that works great for the you know, removal of like sod. And I've done a lot of work with gravel. I used to do the grading on our subdivision on the bike paths and cart paths, and I would move 20 tons of gravel with this loader, and it worked just great. The front wheel assist is something that makes it a tremendous loader. It's something that, you know, it's going to cost you a lot more, but in my opinion it's worth it. Okay, as far as this chain hook, you'll see underneath here there's this, and that's an extra support. Some people, you can get these bolt-on hooks, and that's actually not very good because Pete's loader, he's actually got this rolled. This is one piece that's rolled and formed all the way. Makes it a lot stronger. He also put this here, and that's going to make it much stronger so that, you know, you're not going to bend the loader. If you put bolt-on hooks on a John Deere factory loader, it does void the warranty. You know, it does make a difference. Putting one on in the center, in my opinion, is the best. If you put one on each end, and then you have like a log or something you're trying to lift up with a chain, it can shift on you. And with the weight being out on the end of the bucket, you could easily tip a tractor over when the load would shift. I've done a lot of work with this, and in fact, yesterday I was messing around. When you put a load in the bucket, you want to have it centered. You don't want to have it sticking off on one side. If you do, that's going to cause the loader to tilt. And right where I'm doing this here, there is a low spot on a little bit of a side of a hill, which is not something you really want to do. So you need to be very careful. Whenever you're carrying a load, you want to keep it as low as possible. You don't want to lift it up all the way, because that's going to, again, the center of gravity is much better when you're at the lowest position, not at the highest position. So I'm going to do some more work here, and I'll get some video of the loader picking up some big logs here in a second. This gives you an idea of how big this tree was. It was pretty big. I'm going to guess it was about 75 feet tall. The top had broken out, and all the brush you see here is what came off of the top of the tree. It was dead. That's why it's about half dead, so I wanted to get it out of here. But I'm going to be able to just take these pieces, pick them up, and take them over to my burn pile in just a minute. And it's something that if you didn't have this loader, it would be a job. If you have this loader, it's fun.
Okay. Where'd he go?
Okay.
Okay.
2.5 hours later, this is what it looked like. The brush is always the worst part about when you take down a tree, and rather than getting a chipper, I've got a burn pile where I just pile up all my trash out of the trees and whatever that I need to burn. Okay, the 495 is kind of sitting in a hole there, and this is something that whenever you're trying to use a loader, you always want to be very careful. If the ground this is not level, and I was backing up and trying to turn, and the biggest problem is if you have a log on the front that is not balanced. If it's sticking off one side more than the other, it can really cause the tractor to want to tip. And you always want to carry it as low as possible. You don't want to have the bucket as high. When you're moving, try to keep it low, and that keeps your center of gravity lower. But it just takes a little practice, and you just need to be careful. I've been doing this since I grew up on a farm 50 years ago, and I still occasionally will feel like I made a little bit of a mistake. All you need to do is hit a hole in the ground or something shift on the bucket, and it's easy to get the tractor to where it's going to feel like it's a little tippy. But X595 with this bucket is just something I really like. I'm kind of looking for an X748 if I could find one of those. I want to stay with the mechanical front wheel drive rather than the hydraulic. I just don't have a lot of faith in the hydraulic front wheel drive, but yeah, these are great tractors. If you get like a 758, that's the newest model, and those are Cadillacs. 3-cylinder Yanmar, 24 horse diesel, front wheel assist. I mean, you couldn't have it any better than that. This is what our brush pile looked like after we were finished, and that tree I really didn't think had that many limbs. Half the top was already fell out of the tree. But yeah, this was, a little bit of a project, but with the loader, and my wife helped me, 2.5 hours and we're done. Thanks to the Buford Bucket.